Alright, what's going on, everybody? So Naughty Dog's creative director, Neil Druckmann, stated that the studio has complete authority and full freedom to make whatever decision they want in regards to their games. So let me just read a brief excerpt from his quote, and if you're interested, you can read the rest of what he said. "We're very lucky at Naughty Dog that we get to make our own calls. No one outside of Naughty Dog tells us what to do, but I know when it comes to marketing and other aspects of the industry, those calls are sometimes very precedent driven." Further down, he also goes on to state that he's spoken with other developers at other studios, and they don't have this type of privilege. Now, Naughty Dog is a very prolific studio, and this type of freedom, obviously, that's not something that comes overnight. I would say Naughty Dog definitely has earned this type of authority and has pretty much been entrusted with this type of responsibility. And it's Sony pretty much saying that you've proven yourself as a developer, that we don't really need to micromanage you and tell you every single action that you need to take. You have complete creative freedom. And I think this really helps them as a developer. A lot of these developers at these big studios that create these AAA games have little to no authority. And the ones that have a little bit more freedom, it's limited. And even the ones that have, that freedom, the publishers kind of nudge them into making a game or sending a game in a certain direction, or even, make the call on whether they should make a sequel to this game or move on and make a new IP. This is why a lot of studios have been downsizing and a lot of popular developers have been going the indie route, because that's the great thing about being an indie developer is you have complete creative freedom. And for Naughty Dog as a big studio being under Sony, that's kind of, a little bit unheard of. I would say Sony probably does give this type of freedom to their other studios, but I doubt as much as Naughty Dog. But I'm sure there's still some parameters that Naughty Dog as a studio has to follow. I'm sure they still have deadlines that they have to get a game out by a certain time after it's been in development for a while. So I'm sure they still have to follow those type of things. But as far as creative freedom goes, they got it. And I think this is something that other publishers need to do, is they need to let go of the reins a little bit and let the creative minds of the developers just run wild, because a lot of developers are oppressed by deadlines, the pressure to make a certain kind of game that, their imagination is kind of held down. But luckily for Naughty Dog, they're not influenced or affected by that. And I think that really manifests in their game. And of course, this is not something I think every studio should have right off the bat, obviously, because you can't just give that type of power to anybody. It has to be earned. They got to prove themselves, or else they might just end up doing something really crazy and unwanted by consumers with that, type of authority. So that's one thing that, regardless of how much freedom they have, they can't forget that they have to cater to what the customer wants. But just imagine if, the restrictions were a little bit more lenient and loose when it comes to publisher to developer once they've proven themselves. I think we would have a lot more creative games, a lot less sequels, a lot less unneeded or unwanted sequels, way more creative games, and I think a lot less rushed games. A lot less incomplete games, because I'm sure some of the state of some of these games that they're released in, I'm sure that a lot of those developers were not completely okay with that. I think most games that are just released unfinished, I think that's just because of a deadline. I don't think any developer wants something that they've been working on for years to be released unfinished on purpose. I highly doubt it. That work becomes, their baby in a sense. So I just think most of the time that's just pressure by publishers. But imagine if that was not there, and instead there was a whole lot more freedom. Let me know what y'all think. I'm out of here. Peace. You mad?
Have zero chance of winning, Strider. You only have knife. I have gun.
Eat that! That nigga dead. Alright, so it's promotion time, so I'd like to take a moment to thank my sponsors for a listing of the cheapest PC prices available on any game. Make sure you check out cdkeyprices.com. And also, to get a better value for your video game trade-ins, make sure you use leaptrade.com, and if you can, please use me as a referral.